This is Sig from FFXIV and things, and we are on episode 2 of How to MMORPG through Final Fantasy XIV. So if you're just seeing this for the first time, basically it's just a tutorial or a how-to on what to expect in MMORPGs and what you're looking for and what all goes into them, so that if you're interested in getting into an MMO, or you have friends who have invited you to play an MMO or something like that, and you're just not sure about how they work and you want to have a little more information, we're going to be on a little super in-depth here at the beginning, but that's what this video is for. That's what the stream is for. I'm gonna do two streams. This is gonna be somewhat of a let's play as well, but I will do just a regular let's play. Try and do it fairly regularly, but that's really about it. The last videos I did and the last stream I did were pretty lengthy, so what we're gonna do is just kind of break these down into 30-minute segments, and that's really about it. That's the idea. So let's pick up where we left off. We had finished the first story mode quest, and we were gonna go start picking up other quests. Now, in Final Fantasy XIV, unlike other games, many other games, your one character can be any class at any point in time. Once you reach a certain level, you can pick up any class, any battle class, any crafting class, any gathering class, and go ahead and do those. But the one somewhat drawback to that is that when you switch to a new class, you're going to start at level 1 all over again. But unfortunately, because you're on the same character, all the quests that you've already done on that character are going to still be complete. So at least, generally speaking, if you wanted to play another class in an MMO traditionally, you would start an entirely new character. So that new character would have, all the quests, all the beginning quests, and all the quests in all the towns and everything like that active for them again to help you level. But in Final Fantasy, it doesn't work so much like that. There are plenty of other ways to level that work just as well, but questing is a pretty good way of getting leveled. Let's see what we got here. Nope, another new person. There we go. So we can see by the icon they're on a fresh character at very least, or it's entirely new to the game. Anyways, so what we're going to do is the main story quest you're going to have to do to actually unlock content. So as you progress through the story, you will unlock the dungeons, and you're going to unlock the raids and the primal fights and things like that. And that's going to actually give you a considerable amount of experience, as well as your class quests. So at intervals of level 5, every 5th level, you're going to get a new class quest, which sometimes will just give you gear, or other times you'll get abilities, things like that. So those usually provide quite a bit of experience. So typically in an MMO, I would just say, pick up all the quests you can find. But here in Final Fantasy, we're not going to do that. We're just going to pick up quests as we need, especially on this first class here. So right now, we're going to head over to the first class quest. And in Final Fantasy, the music is just, there's just something that's really, really good. So this is the guild master. Let's see, that's not where we need to go. We need to go here. Alright. So we've got our class quest. We're going to go ahead and talk to our guild master here. See what he has to say. And like I said earlier, in the earlier video, in the earlier stream, the story elements in Final Fantasy XIV are actually pretty good. A lot of the characters have a lot of personality, and you can kind of find a lot of endearment for them if you read through. I've been through this quest, I think, a couple times. at least, or at least up to a certain point. So I'm going to probably end up skipping through. But you got to be careful here because he's about to ask us a question, and if we answer it wrong, we're going to have to go through what we just did all over again. Can I go to the distance? Heck yeah. Of course we can. We ain't scared. That's why we chose pugilist. Alright, so he's going to give us a quest, and you can see that it shows up on our duty list over here. And most MMOs are going to have that. They're going to have some visible representation of your quests on your main HUD. And your HUD is just your UI elements. And so you can kind of keep track of it without having to go to the journal or go to your quest log, which most MMOs will have. Here in Final Fantasy XIV, it's going to be your journal, and this is where you're going to keep up with all your quests. They allow you to see all your completed quests as well, based on the category that quest is in. But you can also do that here. I think no, I guess not. Anyways. So you can see here it says, having formally accepted you into the Pugilist Guild, Master Hammond instructs you to go forth and slay 3 shrews, 3 hornets, and 3 marmots. And you see that it's got a list there. So what we can do here in Final Fantasy XIV at least, and probably in other MMOs, is we can actually click here, and it'll tell us where we need to go. So currently, you can see the little blue marker here. That's our personal marker. It's saying we're in the Steppes of Nald, and our quest objective is in Central Thanalan, and you can see that we have to move from Ul'dah, Steppes of Nald, from Ul'dah the city, out to Central Thanalan. And then if we want to get a little in depth, now I know where it is, but you probably won't if you're just starting out. So if you bring up the actual city map, it'll tell you, hey, Central Thanalan's over here. The entrance or the entrance to Central Thanalan, or the exit from the city into Central Thanalan, is over here. And hey, look, you've got a quest objective over here. So why don't you come on over? But we can also see that it's also going to, in blue, show us where other exits into other zones are. Personally, I do like to just glance at the map and get a general idea of where I'm going, and then just go ahead and go back to the game, just so I get an idea of where I am and what I'm passing when I'm heading to a particular area. So that way I don't have to keep going to the map. I can just kind of, if I read the quest text and it says, oh, you gotta go to Central Thanalan, I can just go, oh, cool, I know exactly where I'm going. But you can definitely use the map if you want to. More so, rely on the map more so, if you want to. So we're loading in here. Let's see here. Alright, and now we're getting a tutorial pop-up for battle. And it's going to tell us to select targets, how to select targets, what our crossbar is, and how to use it. There and there. It's going to talk about TP and MP, which is good, definitely. And it's actually going to break down disciplines of magic versus disciplines of war. This is actually talking about if you're a ranged attacker. That's pretty cool. Now what it's saying there is that the range can be verified here, but it says range is 3 yards, and that's kind of hard to get a grasp on. So what you can do is just select a target, and if it's red, if the TP cost, or the cost of the skill, which is down on your left hand side, if it's red, that means you're out of range, and if it's white, then that means you're in range, and you can go ahead and use that ability. If you are starting off with a range class, it's pretty simple to get a feel of where the range is that you can actually hit things. If you're a melee class, obviously you have to be right on them. Now we are a monk. Let's try and we're going to clear this bar out here because we don't really need it, and we're going to have a lot of abilities later on, so we're going to need all the space we can get on our crossbar. And So you can melee, we're going to just have to be right on them. So all I got to do is, just going to select it. And you can see that we've got little icons over here. These are little indicators that are letting us know, hey, this is a quest objective or a quest target. And we can verify that. Star mammoths are over there. Marmots, I'm sorry. So let's just go ahead and get in on beating up on these dudes. And right now I only have one ability, so I'm going to do what we call spamming. And spamming is just consistently using the same ability over and over again. Alright, so we've got a pop up for experience points. We're going to beat up on this hornet real quick, and before we try and view that, we've actually got two, it seems. Okay. Oh. Okay, so we've got one for pugilist forms. This is going to be a class specific, and you can see that we've gained a level. We're at level 2. We've gained enough experience through killing monsters and doing quests to reach the next level. And the next level, granted by getting to the next level, we were granted the ability True Strike, or a new ability in general. We'll get into that here in a second. This is going to be something very class specific, which will get more into class specific things here in a second. So we're not going to really read through this, and we'll also just go over just some general things as well. Let's see, experience points. Okay, and this is cool because this is telling you about Final Fantasy specifically. So, in the event multiple solo players attack the same target, so if you're the first person, or if you and another person attack the same target, whoever attacks first will always receive 100% of the experience points. But the player who attacked second is going to receive an amount based on their total contribution. So that means, if you're running around and you see somebody and they're attacking something that you need, and feel free to attack it, but you may not receive the full reward for that, depending on how low the HP of the enemy already is and how much damage you contribute to that. But it's definitely good just to help people out. It's fun. You just run over them, do what you got to do, your thing, and help them out. It's really nice sometimes. Right, and then this is talking about binding. In Final Fantasy, items become bound to you, soul bound to you, so that you can't sell them to another player or post them on the market board. You can still sell them to vendors and NPCs, but you won't be able to sell it to any other players. And that happens pretty much after you use it. If you put it on and you go into battle, it's soul bound to you now. And there are other things that are going to be soulbound, and that's going to affect other things. A lot of the higher end gear is typically going to be soulbound to you. Epic gear or higher rarity, higher quality gear is going to be bound to you just as soon as you receive it. A lot of the higher end stuff you won't be able to sell, but that's not necessarily a negative thing. But as you level, you are going to be getting gear through dungeons and quests, and some of the gear you may not need. So you can always, take that and go and sell it to a vendor, which you're going to get usually a small price for, or you can go put it on the market board for other players to view and set your own price. And you might make more than you would if you would have vendored it. But if you put it on, it's at least in Final Fantasy, if you put it on and you get into combat, it's now yours. You can't put it on the market board anymore. All right. So let's talk about abilities real quick. In Final Fantasy, it's based off typically for most classes, it's going to be based off some kind of combo system. So you'll use one ability, which will affect, by using that ability, it will affect the use of another ability. Some classes can use any ability at any point in time, like bards and casters, really, bards and casters. Everybody else is going to have some kind of combo system. Warriors have a combo system, but they can use warriors, and I'm pretty sure paladins as well. Any of the tanking classes can use any of their abilities at any point in time, but using them in a specific sequence is going to give them benefits. So for monk, though, you do have to do it in a specific order. So we can see here that we started out with Boot Shine. We can see that it delivers with an attack with a potent, well, let's go over the beginning. So it's an instant cast, and what that means is that the moment that you activate the skill, it is going to activate. Other things, usually it's going to be casters and things like that. You may have abilities that say cast and it'll give it the cast time of 2 seconds or something like that. So that means that as soon as once you activate the ability, you'll charge up, or you'll begin your cast sequence, and after 2 seconds, it will be the ability will be completed or activated entirely in its fullness. We also see that we have a recast designator, and the recast time says 2.5 seconds. So that means what recast means is how quickly you can reuse this ability. So when we initiate Boot Shine, it'll cast instantly, but we have to wait 2.5 seconds until we can use it again. And that's typically referred to as a cooldown time. So it takes 2.5 seconds for the ability to cool down until we can use it again. And it also lists the TP cost. So the TP cost is 60. So that means activating the skill is going to cost 60 TP, or 60 resources of a particular type. And generally most abilities are going to have some kind of cost, some kind of resource cost. And you just want to keep an eye on that, keep a mental note on that for some cases, for some classes. With Monk, we're really not going to worry about that too much, because especially in the beginning, we shouldn't really have to worry about resource management. Later on, when fights are long and our skill speed is faster, which skill speed is going to increase how frequently we can use abilities. The faster your skill speed is, the more quickly you're able to use abilities, but the more resources you're going to be burning through. At that point, we'll have to start worrying about, okay, we need to worry about resource management and things like that, and there are ways that we'll be able to do that, and we'll talk about that when we get there. So let's continue on with the ability description. It says it delivers an attack with a potency of 150. So in Final Fantasy, and the strength of the attack is measured in potency. And it really, that I know of, doesn't have I'm sure that it has some kind of algorithmic equation or some kind of algorithm that at 150 and plus the potency of the skill is 150, plus the character has X amount of strength, plus many other factors. The defense of the enemy is such and such, divided by this defense of the enemy being such and such equals X amount of damage. But we're not going to worry about all that. We're not even going to get it, because that's just ridiculous. This is just ridiculous. So what we're going to do is we're just going to look at it and we're going to say, okay, that's a potency of 150. So we know that base number is what we're gonna focus on here. Now, getting into Monk specifically, Monk has attribute on the class called Forms. So the Monk is typically each of their main abilities, and we'll kind of go over that through their main rotation, is going to switch them through different forms, allowing them to use other abilities, or the next ability in a rotation. So you can see that Boot Shine is lit, but True Strike is grayed out, and we can't use it. If we try, it says we can't use it yet. So let's find out what that's all about. We'll also go over the next part real quick too. Oppo form bonuses, so we won't go over that just yet. So we'll go into the additional effects. So additional effects says that it changes form, and I'm skipping over that because for Monk it's specifically important. If it were a different class which didn't have forms or anything like that, we would have just gone straight through. But for Monk, it's going to be a little bit easier for us to skip that for right now. Additional effect changes form to Raptor, so that means it gives us the effect of Raptor form, and it says that the duration is 10 seconds. So when we use this ability on an enemy, we're going to gain Raptor form. We're going to move into the Raptor form for Monks, and that form is we'll be able to hold that form for 10 seconds. Okay, so let's and so that's pretty much what that what that ability does. It's an instant cast. We have to wait 2.5 seconds before we can recast it. It costs 60 TP, has a potency of 150, and it changes us into the Raptor form, which has a duration of 10 seconds, or the form we're able to hold for 10 seconds. So let's look at the new one that we just got, True Strike. Again, this one also is an instant cast, and generally speaking with melee classes and any kind of physical damage, generally most of their abilities are all going to be instant cast. Your casters and sometimes your ranged will have cast times on certain abilities, but generally melee is going to be instant cast. You're just going to walk up, you're going to be able to hit stuff. So this is cast is instant. The recast time is 2.5 seconds, again, just like Bootshine. And your TP cost is 50, so it actually has a lower TP cost than Bootshine does. So let's see here. It says, so let's see, let's continue on. It says delivers an attack with a potency of 150. So it has the same potency as Bootshine, which means in effect that they should do the same amount of damage. Now here's where we're going to get into a little bit specifics of Monk and a little bit of specifics of Monks and something else. It says 150, but 190 when executed from behind the target. So that means that the True Strike, the potential of True Strike is actually 190 potency, which is 40 potency higher than Bootshine. But in order to attain that, we have to attack the target from the rear, and that's what we call a positional. In Final Fantasy XIV, it's what we call a positional, and there are certain classes that are going to have attacks that have positional requirements, not necessarily to actually be activated, but to gain the full potential of that attack. Now the next line says it can only be used in Raptor form. So that means in order to use this ability, we have to be in Raptor form. So that means that we have to use Bootshine first before we can use True Strike, and that's where we're going to lead into rotations. Now, Monk has, on a basic level, has a very forced rotation. So it's going to let you know, hey, this is a rotation, and you have to do it this way. Other classes aren't really going to do that. But there's also, once we start getting a few more abilities, we're going to get into the point where we're like, okay, well, I got to use this to use this, but if I got to use Bootshine to use True Strike, but if I use Bootshine, I can also use this other ability. Which ability should I use at what time? And so then we're going to have choices, and we're going to try and figure out when we're going to want to use abilities and things like that. And that's just specifically for Monk, but that's going to be in general over all the classes. It's going to be like that. You're going to have abilities where you're going to be like, well, I could use this now, but I could also use this. Why would I not use that instead of this? And that will help you by reading the tooltips and things like that. That's going to help you get into what your rotation should be and when you should be using abilities and things like that. And we're definitely going to go over that as well. So the next line in this, and I guess we'll touch a little bit more on that, or not. I'm not sure. We'll keep going. Now the next line here says additional effect changes form to coral. What this effect will do is actually change us into the coral form, which is another form. There are technically 3 forms. The first one is going to be Raptor, and the second one for Monk is going to be Coral. So right now, those are the only 2 that we actually have abilities that switch us into are going to be Bootshine, which switches us into Raptor, and True Strike, which switches us into Coral. And we don't have an ability that needs Coral just yet. And the duration of that is 10 seconds, so we can hold Coral form for 10 seconds. Pretty much the same as how we can hold Raptor form. Now let's go back to Bootshine real quick, and let's read that that aspect that we switched over, that we skipped over. So this says Opa Opa form bonus. Now we don't have an ability we don't have anything that gives us Opa Opa form. So what we can assume is that at some point we will get one that's actually going to move us into a 3rd form, and that form was going to be called Opa Opa. So the Opa Opa form bonus says critical damage if dealt from behind. So there's another positional. So that means that you can see here, that this area here is on the circle, and you'll on Final Fantasy XIV you're going to have this indicator because there are positionals. You can see on the very rear that it's open, so that indicates that that is the rear of the enemy. And if you want to hit anything in from the rear, want to be in that area. Unfortunately, we won't be able to get to Oppo, so that means that we won't be able to gain that. We won't be able to gain that advantage just yet. Also, it's very difficult to do that when you are soloing, when you're playing by yourself, or you're leveling by yourself, questing by yourself, because the mobs, as soon as you attack them, the enemies are going to face you, and if you move, they're just going to follow you. So it's going to be almost impossible at this point, especially to actually use those forms. So it's kind of a detriment to monks, but don't worry if you did choose monk, because you're going to be just fine. Let's one more note. You can see that this icon right next to the level indicator of the enemy is blue. And in Final Fantasy XIV, what that means is that this enemy is not going to attack you unless you attack it. It's a passive enemy. Now there are enemies that will have a red marker next to them, and that's just an indicator that says if this enemy can attack you, if they see you, they're going to attack you whether you attack them or not. And so that's an aggressive, that's what we would call an aggressive enemy. So let's go ahead and just continue on with this quest. So you can see that as soon as we use boot shine, sorry about that, we lost the microphone. As soon as we use boot shine, we're now able to use, or we were able to use, True Strike. True Strike lit up and it had an indicator flowing around it. So that's just letting us know, hey, you meet the current requirements to use True Strike. But you can see that after 10 seconds after that, the raptor form from Boot Shine dropped off, or expired, we are no longer able to use True Strike. And what just technically happened is your character is going to auto attack. So let's go ahead and just double click on this guy. So he's going to auto attack automatically. Auto attacks typically don't do very much damage. So you're going to want to use your abilities, but you will be doing a little bit of extra damage just basically. So let's go ahead and do this. We'll hit Boot Shine, and then so we ran out of True Strike, but now since we have True Strike active and this mob is not aggroed on us or attacking us, we can use the positional. Oh, we could. I was talking, can't use it now. But we could have used the positional simply because the enemy wasn't actually paying attention to us. Alright. And typically, personally, I'm just going to be like, when I go to questing and stuff like this, I'm just going to go ahead and go from one to the next, and we're just going to keep using the rotation. Now we have the ability to use True Strike from the rear on an unsuspecting enemy, so it should do more damage than it typically do. Let's check and see. So it did 11 damage before, now it only did 8, so the potency increase does equate to more damage for sure. I'm just going to complete this quest here. Alright, so we've defeated all the enemies in this area that were part of our quest. Now we have one more enemy, which we're not seeing an indicator for. Anyway, let's get up on this rock here. Just kind of look around. Not seeing anything. Nothing with an indicator. Nope. Well, poop. Alright, so we could, just roam around aimlessly and try and figure out where the enemies are if we wanted to. And we can definitely do that. Or if we want to, we can just click here. Right on it, and it'll say, hey, these guys are going to generally be in this area over here by this little red indicator here. So that means that we know that if we head over that way, we should run into, if we head over that way, we should run into the enemies that we're looking for our quest. So let's go ahead. We'll leave the map up for right now, just so you can see how this is going to work. So we can see that we need to head east. And we're just gonna start heading that way. And this is why I love Lalafell. Just waiting in the bush. Nobody would ever expect if you see an unexpected person coming down the road, you can just kind of like and try and scare them. But of course, it's not going to work because they're probably going to see it coming. But you know, it's fun just to kind of pretend for a little bit. Anyways, so let's see here. All right, so we've got the shrew. So we see now that in this general area we found the enemies that we're looking for. They do have the quest indicator. They are level 3, and you can see down here we have an indicator that we are currently level 2. So they're one level higher than us, which means they're going to be a little more capable than we are, but we're not going to care about that. We're just going to go ahead and do what we're supposed to do here. So we got 1 down, and we need 3, so we just need 2 more. And you can see we're taking a little more damage than we were while we were fighting the hornets and the marmots. But we're gonna hope we can pull through here without having to take a break, and we'll see. We missed on the boot shine, and that's the problem sometimes with attacking enemies that are higher than you. Not only are they more capable. Oh, we gained a level. Not only are they more capable, but you also have the ability that you may not be able to hit them because they are so much more capable. But we did just hit level 3. As you can see, we didn't get an ability, so we're not always going to get abilities with every level. But we are going to get a stat increase for sure, I do believe, and a little bit, and that's really about it. But the stat increase is going to increase, you know, how quickly we can defeat monsters of any varying level. So we can definitely defeat a level 1 star marmot faster now than we were able to at level 2. And this is an ad for a guild seller. And they're pretty prevalent on most MMOs. But generally speaking, as far as I understand, within the terms of service of every MMO that I think I've heard of, it is going to somewhere say do not buy in-game currency from an outside source with real money. By doing that, you will break your terms of service. You break your terms of service agreement, and if somehow the company finds out that you've done that, they can ban you for a short period of time, or they can permanently ban you from playing the game. So it's generally, it's really not worth it in the end. But that's just the terms of service there. So it's pretty much a big no-no. But they are going to be prevalent in many MMOs, and here in Final Fantasy it can be pretty prevalent. So the best thing to do is you're going to want to go down to your chat bar, hover over the name, or if you want to use your mouse, you can hover over the name, right click or hit square if you're on PS4, and go ahead and add that to the blacklist. Otherwise, this person's going to keep spamming you with ads. And like I said, that's something that you're pretty much going to run into just about anywhere. Let's clean this off. So now we're back in Ul'dah, and we're going to head back to our guild master, or our class master. And turn this quest in that we just completed for him. And while we're doing that, I'm going to clean off this second bar. And these here on Final Fantasy, these are all, as far as Final Fantasy, these are all just buttons that will take you quickly to menu items. So actions and traits, your quest journal, your hunting log, which we'll talk about here in a second, your gathering log, which we'll talk about later, crafting log we'll talk about later, signs, which we'll talk about later as well. We don't really have to worry about them. Now emotes, these are just typically you're going to have in MMOs. You're going to have emotes, things that you can cause your character to do. So we can make our character bow, we can make him wave, and this is just so you can be a little more expressive, show a little more expression with your character. We can say no, we don't want to do that. We can cry, oh man, that really hurt. Show that we're mad or upset. Let's see. And for Final Fantasy XIV, these are all just one clicks, and they'll do what they say that they're going to do. We do have persistent ones, which means that once you do it, your character will stay there until otherwise told to, until you choose another action that would break that. So we can tell our character, we can get our character to sit down, and he'll just stay there until either we move like that, or if we press the sit button again, he'll get back up. And then in Final Fantasy XIV, again, we have different poses. So we talked a little bit about the idle pose a little bit earlier, so we kind of know what that is, but you can change your character's pose, where they will stand after the way that they'll stand after they're idle. And we're going to go back to our original one. Now here you can also see that we can sit actually on benches and things like that, so we can go ahead and sit down on a bench and just kind of chill, and we can actually change our sitting pose as well, which is indicated by this little icon right here. And then we've got this one, which I guess means standing. This means you have pose choices while sitting as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to go with that one there. And then we have visor. Some helmets are going to have a visor on them, and that emote will actually allow you to lift that visor up or put it back down, which is kind of pretty cool. All right, so we're going to go back in here. Yeah, we're going to clean this off too. Let's clean this off real quick. This is the teleport button, which we can actually, any of these are just, those are just shortcuts to this stuff here within the main menu. So there's our journal, there's our actions and traits, which we saw. Here's our hunting log and our crafting log and our gathering log. Here's teleport. We're about to take off return. Party members, which we saw were in social. User macros, which we'll get into we'll talk about macros another time. We really don't need to worry about them now. Let's see here. And we'll just clear this off. And you can see on PlayStation or on PlayStation 4, if you're using a controller even on PC, I can actually switch through multiple bars. So 3, 4. Now the ones that do not have a box behind them are bars that I can cycle through just by simply pressing the cycle button on PlayStation. It's going to be R1. So if I had another ability on 2, if I pressed R1, it would on the second crossbar. If I pressed R1, it would swap me over to that. And if I had an ability on 3 after 2, it would swap me over to 3. But if I'm on crossbar 3 and I hit R1, it's going to swap me back to 4. These bars will change based on what class you have, what class you're on currently. So if I had multiple classes, on my crossbar one would be different on each class, and it allows you to do that. But these here with the boxes behind them, these are all persistent. So if you put something on 4, it's going to be on there regardless of what class you're on. So let's go ahead and go back here. And also, if you have something on there, it will cycle through those as well. So let's go ahead and turn this quest in real quick. Let's see what Master Hammond has to say. Alright, so the system just let us know in those gray boxes. The gray boxes are generally system messages as far as Final Fantasy is concerned. And in other MMOs, there's probably going to be those as well. It just let us know that we won't get another quest from Master Hammond until we reach level 5. But we just turned in the way of the pugilist, and we can see that we're getting a reward of 100 experience, and that we're actually going to get some marmot steaks. And generally in MMOs, eating will give you some kind of benefit, one kind of benefit or another. Here we see that if we eat a marmot steak, we'll get an increase to our skill speed of 8% with a maximum of a value of 2. And we'll talk about that here in a second. We'll get a point of it into our vitality and 1 point into our accuracy, which we learned earlier might not be such a bad idea, might not be such a bad thing to have. And then we'll get an item description here. And we'll see that another bonus that we get is we get an experience bonus of 3%, which is actually pretty nice. Any bonus you could get to how much experience you gain is not a bad thing. So we've got 5 marmot. We're gonna get 5 marmot steaks here. So anytime we know we're gonna go out questing, we know we're gonna go try and level, we might as well eat some food if we've got it. you know, and we'll get a little bonus experience, we'll level a little bit faster. And we can see that the duration for that is 30 minutes. And we see that down at the bottom it says it sells for 1 gil. Now that's typically going to be for vendors, NPC vendors only, or non-player character vendors only. So if we go up to a vendor and we say, hey, how much you want to, I want to sell this marmot steak, he's going to give us a gil. Now we could go to the market board and see if that's different. And we'll do that real quick here before we get out of here. So let's go ahead and complete this quest. And we get a little tooltip for using items. Some items can be used granting various effects, instant HP restoration, so like potions and things like that. And you can see that they give you a really good description here. And it's definitely good to read through this stuff, especially, I mean, if they're short, you know, I wouldn't worry about it. Just go ahead and read through them. And you can see actually here there's some useful information. It says all items with recast armors cannot be used again until the timer has expired. So that means it's letting you know, hey, some of these items are going to have recast timers like your abilities, and they're gonna the time that it takes for you to be able to reuse them will be denoted at the bottom of the tooltip, the item tooltip. So that's kind of useful information there, definitely. So let's exit out of here if we can. There we go. We're going to go to now we're going to work for the hunting log. So the hunting log is a record of your completion of tasks involved by slaying certain creatures. By completing these tasks, you will earn rewards and unlock new challenges. The log can be accessed via logs. That sounds kind of confusing, so we'll just go over the hunting log real quick. Once the log is open, we got another gil seller. Let's go ahead and blacklist them real quick. Okay. Each class is marked with a rank. Now here and at the end it's telling us that it's going to denote things, enemies that are on our hunting log by this icon here. So if you see one of those icons, that means that it's on our current active hunting log, and if we defeat them, it'll count towards the tally of our completion of that entry. So let's look at the hunting log real quick since we just got it. So this is what it was talking about here. We see that we only are able to view the rank 1 hunting log. We see that huge hornets, which we were battling earlier, are on here, and it looks like we need to kill 4 to receive a reward of 75 experience. Star marmots are on here, cactars, which we haven't seen, snapping shrews, which we have. There's a black brush, I'm not even sure what that thing is. Nesting buzzards. So all these enemies here are on our hunting log, and by defeating in each entry, by defeating however many enemies are in each entry, however many of those we have to defeat, we'll usually get a little reward. But here at the top you can also see that by completing this hunting log in its entirety, we'll also get a reward simply for filling it out. So we'll get 2,500 experience on top of all the experience we get for completing each entry, and some of these entries are pretty decent here. Now, in Final Fantasy XIV, or at least as it goes down, as we go further down the hunting log, these guys are gonna get a little more difficult, because what it does is every 10 levels you'll get a new entry into your hunting log, or a new rank in your hunting log that you can complete. So you can see here requirements for rank 2: we have to complete all the rank 1 objectives, and we have to achieve level 10 or above. So that's the hunting log there. Some MMOs will have things like that, and really what it's there for is just to help you level a little bit faster, so that you can progress through the game and get to more difficult content and more, sometimes in essence, more interesting content to a degree, in one degree or another. So we're going to head over to, well, first we're going to put Sprint on our hotbar. And you can hear Birdie in the background just having a blast. He's having a pretty good day. So we're going to head over to the market. And now, here it's not really going to tell us, hey, the market's over here. Unfortunately, I know where the market is. It's always a good idea to go ahead and explore new places and things like that. Maybe not out in the wild, but definitely in cities and things like that. Did we get this? Nope, we sure didn't. So we'll attune to this Ethernet shard here. Just go ahead and on. So if you want to go somewhere, you know where it is. The Ethernet in Final Fantasy allows you to teleport around to different points of interest within a city. And then the Aetherites, which were the big things, which are the ones that we saw when we were completing our first story quest, those allow you to teleport to different zones. But here within the Aetherites, see, we have the option. Right now, we can go to the Aetherite Plaza, and that's it, because it's the only Aetherite, or Aethernet shard that we actually have picked up within Ul'dah. So let's go ahead and cross over here. Okay, so we have crossed into the Steps of Fall instead of the Steps of Nald. And this is where, as we actually went here for the first story quest too, and we talked about actually with it, but this was the market board, so let's talk about that real quick. This is the market board. Typically, all MMOs are going to have some kind of player-based market where players can trade items and sell items to other players. So you can see here that we have main or off arm. These are the weapons that you can gain. The weapon or the category of, for weapons. So you can search here for different weapons. We're a pugilist, so if we wanted to, we could go ahead and select pugilist weapons, and then go ahead and hit search, and we'll see what they've got. So we've got these that we can pick through, and here we can see that these are. We can see the prices. We can see which retainer, which we'll talk about retainers later on. We can see which retainer, the name of the retainer that's selling the item, because they actually don't list the player's name. The name of the retainer that's selling the item, as well as the quantity and the total cost in the end. So if we wanted to buy this, we'd need 8,850 gold or gil, which you can see in the top right-hand corner. We only have 210, so we can't buy those. But also there's armor, and it will allow you to search, instead of having each class listed here for you to search through, what it'll do is it allows you to search here what class you want to search for. So we can search for any of these here, and it'll tell you, and it'll allow you to search for what level requirement is on the item. So since we're level 3, it automatically goes to level 3. But if we wanted to, we could go to any level we want and search for. We could search for equipment for a pugilist of from 1 to 6 or 7, whatever we wanted to do. And then we've got items, medicine agreements, lumber, any kind of item will be here. And then housing, there is personal housing in Final Fantasy XIV, as well as free company housing. So these are going to be housing items, which will have walls, exterior fixtures. We'll have outdoor furnishings like benches and things like that, chairs and beds, tables, stuff to go on the tabletops. So any of these things, and all these things are going to be crafted by players, and they're going to be sold by players. So we've got, let's see, if we'll just go to chairs real quick and search what kind of chairs they've got. So they've got Riviera chairs, and all these chairs and all these items listed here were either, some of them may have been bought, but generally speaking, were crafted by a player, and the player is currently selling them. So this player is selling this Oasis armchair for 37,000 gil. So if you wanted to buy that to put in your house, you definitely could. Another thing that's actually kind of interesting on these, it'll actually, which is kind of weird, but it'll actually, down at the bottom, it'll list the name of the character that made the item. So this is made by Aranthi Elysium. So this piece of furniture was actually crafted by another character, whereas these, you can see this retainer is selling something. Dante is selling a chair, but there's no denotation of who made it. So that means he probably picked it up from a vendor or from a quest reward or something like that. So let's go ahead and get out of here. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to end this segment here. We completed our first class quest. We talked a little bit about abilities, and at least in Final Fantasy and things like that, very specifically for sure, as well as gaining new ability. We went through a couple. We got two levels, and we talked a little bit about those. Actually, let's look at our character sheet. So you can see here it says we're level 3 and pugilist. Here are our stats here. And then here's all the information we need to know about our character. How much skill speed we have, which is how fast we attack, our healing magic potency, currently with our current equipment, spell speed, our defense, all that stuff. And all these numbers mean something. You don't really typically have to worry about them too much until later on. But right now, I wouldn't worry about those too many. I wouldn't really worry about these numbers, especially when you're just starting off and you're just now leveling. We can look through our resistance. We can look through our profile. We don't currently have any titles, which you will get through completing certain things. Like once we get monk to level 50, we will receive a title, which we can display by our character's name. And then we can look at our classes. These are all the classes available in Final Fantasy XIV, and like I said, your one character can be all these classes, and it will list what level you are in those classes. So let's go ahead and go back to the Adventurers Guild. We actually just got a whisper here from a player asking if we would like to be in a free company. We cannot respond. You really have a free choice whether you want to respond or not. Typically, people will not whisper you if they want to invite you to their FC. They'll just send you an invite, which you'll get in your notifications, where that little box that we put down last episode, and it'll say, hey, you have a free company invite, and click on it and accept it or not, or decline it. So we're actually not going to respond there. It's not a big deal. The person probably sends that message out to quite a few different people. Now, if you do get an invite to an FC or to a guild in a game and you're just starting off, you definitely can join up. It's not necessarily that you have to stay, and it's definitely good to have a pool of people who know what they're doing. And if you find that it's not for you, you can always leave. But you definitely can join. And then, but if you don't want to join and you want to wait until you figure the game out a little bit, you definitely have that option as well. But a lot of guilds that you're going to find are, especially in Final Fantasy, if they're not just super mega guilds, which are guilds that just have tons of people, they're going to be pretty friendly and helpful, especially if you have questions and things like that. You'll have a pool of people that you can ask. Let's get ourselves an in-room this time, if we can. Maybe we can't yet. Okay, so we can't get an in-room just yet. So we're just going to park ourselves over here in this chair. Now, also typically in MMOs, sitting will increase the regeneration of your resources. So if you're out in the field and you're fighting a bunch of monsters and you're really low on health, you don't feel like popping a potion or using a potion because maybe you're low on them or something like that, you can just usually take a squat and your HP will generate a little bit faster. But that's it for episode 2 of How to MMORPG, and we will be back with more episodes for sure as time goes on. Hope you guys enjoyed. Again, if you have any questions, you can always comment on the YouTube video. I'm going to upload this to YouTube as soon as I can, or you can send me an email at ffxivandthings@gmail.com. Or I'll also going to post this up on the site at ffxivandthings.wordpress.com. And if you read the article, you can comment there as well. But that's really about it. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you later. Let's see. See you later, Sig. There we go.